My brother's fiance hid her entire secret child for 4 years. Then her drunk cousin exposed everything at the rehearsal dinner. It's 2 a.m. and I'm sitting in my hotel room staring at the wall because what else am I supposed to do right now? My brother Jason's wedding was supposed to be tomorrow. Saturday afternoon at the Botanical Gardens, 150 guests, live band, open bar, the whole thing. My mom has been planning this for 8 months. 8 months of seating charts and flower arrangements and arguing with the caterer about whether salmon or chicken was more universally appealing. The rehearsal dinner was tonight. 6 hours ago, actually. And now there's no wedding. Let me back up. Jason was, marrying Melissa. They've been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. Melissa is exactly the kind of person my mom always hoped Jason would end up with. She's a pediatric nurse, volunteers at an animal shelter on weekends, remembers everyone's birthdays, and bakes cookies for every family gathering. She's genuinely nice, like the kind of nice where you keep waiting for the other shoe to drop and it never does. My mom loves her. My dad loves her. I love her. Jason's best friend Ryan says she's the best thing that ever happened to him, and Ryan doesn't say nice things about anyone, so that's saying something. The rehearsal dinner was at this Italian restaurant my parents love, the one with the brick oven pizza and the owner who knows everyone by name. We had the private room in the back, about 40 people total. Both families, the wedding party, a few close friends. Very intimate, very warm, very nice. Everything was going perfectly. The food was great, everyone was laughing. My dad made a toast about how Jason used to be terrible with girls and look at him now. Classic dad humor. Jason and Melissa were sitting at the head table holding hands, and she kept looking at him like he hung the moon. It was almost sickeningly sweet, but in a good way. Then Melissa's cousin Brian stood up to give a toast. I should mention that Brian flew in from Seattle that morning. I'd never met him before tonight. Melissa talked about him sometimes. They were close growing up, more like siblings than cousins because their moms are twins and they lived next door to each other until high school. He moved away for college and then stayed on the West Coast for work. He's a software engineer or something. Melissa was really excited he was coming because she hadn't seen him in person in almost 2 years. Brian seemed nice enough when I met him before dinner. A little quiet, a little awkward with small talk, but friendly. He sat with Melissa's side of the family during the meal and didn't really interact with anyone from Jason's side except to say hello. When he stood up to give his toast, Melissa looked surprised. I don't think it was planned. Brian wasn't on the list of speakers my mom had organized, but he had his wine glass in his hand and people were already quieting down, so it would have been weird to stop him. He started out normal, talked about growing up with Melissa, how she was always the responsible one, always taking care of everyone else. How she was the kid who brought home injured birds and tried to nurse them back to health. How she organized lemonade stands and donated the money to charity. Sweet stuff. Melissa was smiling, looking a little embarrassed but pleased. Then Brian said something about how Melissa deserved happiness after everything she'd been through. He said Jason was a lucky guy and he hoped Jason knew how special Melissa was. Still normal, still fine. Then he said, and I know you'll be a great stepdad to Olivia. The room went silent, not like quiet because people were listening. Silent like someone hit pause on reality. Melissa's face went completely white. Not pale, white, like every drop of blood just evacuated her body. My mom looked at my dad. My dad looked at Jason. Jason was staring at Brian with this expression I've never seen on his face before. Not anger, not confusion. Something else, something worse. Brian, completely oblivious, kept talking. He said something about how it must be hard being a long-distance mom but at least the summer visits were coming up soon. He said Olivia was lucky to have Melissa fighting for her. Melissa stood up so fast her chair fell backward. She grabbed Brian's arm and said they needed to talk outside. Now, her voice was shaking. Brian finally seemed to realize something was wrong. He looked around the room, at all of us staring at him, and his face went red. He followed Melissa out of the private room into the main restaurant. Nobody said anything for maybe 10 seconds. Then everyone started talking at once. Jason stood up and followed them. My dad started to get up too but my mom grabbed his arm and shook her head. Ryan, Jason's best friend and best man, muttered something that sounded like, "What the fuck," and downed the rest of his wine. Melissa's parents looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Her mom was crying. Her dad was staring at the door with his jaw clenched. My mom tried to get everyone to calm down. She said there must be some misunderstanding, some explanation. But her voice was shaking and nobody believed her, including her. I slipped out after Jason. I know I probably shouldn't have, but he's my brother and I wasn't just going to sit there eating tiramisu while his life imploded. I found them in the hallway near the bathrooms. Melissa was crying, Jason was standing with his arms crossed, and Brian looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. I heard Jason say, "So, you have a daughter." Not a question, a statement. Melissa was trying to talk through the tears. She kept saying she was going to tell him, she was planning to tell him, she just didn't know how. Jason asked how old. Melissa said 6. Jason asked what her name was. Melissa said Olivia. Jason asked where she was. Melissa said with her father in Colorado. There was this long pause. Then Jason asked if they were married. If Melissa had been married before. Melissa said no. She said Olivia's father was her boyfriend in college. They were together for 2 years. She got pregnant senior year. They tried to make it work after graduation but it fell apart. He got a job in Denver, she stayed in North Carolina for nursing school. They have a custody agreement. Olivia lives with him during the school year and Melissa gets her for most of the summer and alternating holidays. Jason asked why she never told him. Melissa said she tried. She said she almost told him so many times but she didn't know how to bring it up. She said when they first started dating she thought it would scare him away. Then the longer they were together, the harder it got to find the right moment. She said she was going to tell him after he proposed, but then he proposed in front of his whole family at Christmas and she couldn't ruin the moment. She said she was planning to tell him after the wedding, on the honeymoon, when they were alone and she could explain everything properly. Jason just stared at her. He asked if she understood what she was saying. She was planning to marry him and then tell him she had a child. After the wedding, after they were legally bound together. Melissa said she knew it sounded bad but she panicked. She said every time she tried to bring it up the words just wouldn't come. She said she knew Jason didn't want kids right away. They'd talked about waiting 5 years, traveling first, getting established in their careers. She said she was afraid if she told him about Olivia he would leave her. Jason said, "So you were just never going to tell me?" Melissa said of course she was going to tell him. Eventually, when the time was right. Jason asked when the time would be right. When Olivia showed up at their house one summer. When they filed joint taxes and he saw the child support payments. When? Melissa didn't have an answer. Brian tried to apologize. He said he assumed Jason knew. Melissa talked about Olivia all the time when they talked on the phone. He said he didn't realize it was a secret. Jason told him to leave. Not angrily, just flat. He said Brian should go back to his hotel. Brian looked at Melissa. She nodded. He left. I probably should have left too, but I was frozen there in the hallway. Jason saw me but he didn't tell me to go. He just looked back at Melissa. He asked her what else. What else hadn't she told him? Melissa said that was it. Just Olivia, nothing else. Jason asked about the child support. How much was it? How long had she been paying it? Melissa said $800 a month since Olivia was born. Jason asked how she afforded that on a nurse's salary, especially when she was in school. Melissa said her parents helped at first. Then she got better paying positions. She made it work. Jason asked if that's why she always said she couldn't afford to go on vacations with him. Why she always had to work extra shifts. Why she lived in that tiny apartment instead of getting a nicer place. Melissa said partly, yes. Jason asked if she was planning to tell him about the money after the wedding too. Or was she just going to keep paying it without explaining where $800 a month was going? Melissa said she had a separate account for it. She said Jason never would have seen the transactions. That's when Jason's voice changed. He asked if she heard herself. She was planning to hide a whole bank account from her husband. Hide a child. Hide everything about a massive part of her life. Melissa said it wasn't like that. She said she wasn't trying to hide Olivia, she was just trying to protect the relationship. Jason said she was lying to him. For 4 years. Melissa said she never lied. She just didn't tell him. Jason said that's the same thing. Melissa said it wasn't. She said lying is actively saying something false. Not mentioning something isn't lying. Jason asked if she remembered the conversation they had about kids. 6 months into dating, he specifically asked if she had any kids. She said no. Melissa started crying harder. She said she meant she didn't have any kids with her. She didn't have custody. She said it was technically true. Jason said, technically true. Great, that's what I want in a marriage. Technically true. He asked what the plan was for when Olivia visited in the summer. Was Melissa just going to tell him she was babysitting? Was she going to hide a 6-year-old child in their apartment? Melissa said by then she would have told him. She said she just needed to get through the wedding first, get settled into married life, and then she would explain everything about Olivia and they could figure it out together. Jason asked what there was to figure out. Melissa had a daughter. That wasn't going to change. Melissa said she knew that. She said she wasn't trying to make Olivia disappear. She just needed Jason to love her enough first. To be committed enough that he wouldn't leave when he found out. Jason said if that's what she thought of him, if she thought he was the kind of person who would leave someone for having a kid, then why was she marrying him? Melissa said because she loved him. Because he was everything she ever wanted. Because she couldn't lose him. Jason said she never had him. Not really. Because the person he fell in love with didn't exist. He fell in love with a version of Melissa that was missing a fundamental piece of who she actually was. Melissa reached for his hand. He stepped back. She asked if they could go somewhere private to talk. Really talk. Just the two of them. Jason said there was nothing to talk about. He said the wedding was off. Melissa's face crumpled. She asked if he was serious. If he was really ending everything over this. Jason said he wasn't ending anything. She ended it when she decided to build their entire relationship on a lie. Melissa said it wasn't a lie. She said she was the same person he fell in love with. Nothing about her changed. Jason said everything changed. He said the woman he was going to marry tomorrow didn't have a 6-year-old daughter in Colorado. The woman standing in front of him did. Those were two different people. Melissa asked if he was really that shallow. If he would really throw away 4 years because she had a child. Jason said it wasn't about the child. It was about the lying. It was about the fact that she made a conscious decision every single day for 4 years to keep this from him. It was about the fact that she was planning to marry him and then surprise him with a stepdaughter he never agreed to have. Melissa said she would have talked to him about it first. She said obviously she would have prepared him before Olivia's first visit. Jason asked when. The wedding was tomorrow. When exactly was she planning to have this conversation? Melissa said on the honeymoon. They were going to Bali for 2 weeks. She was going to tell him the first night, when they were relaxed and happy and away from everyone. Jason said she was going to tell him on their honeymoon. When they were in a foreign country. When he couldn't leave if he wanted to. Melissa said that wasn't why. She said she chose the honeymoon because it was private and romantic and they would have time to really talk about everything. Jason said or maybe she chose it because by then they'd be married and it would be harder for him to walk away. Melissa said that wasn't fair. Jason said none of this was fair. He said it wasn't fair that she lied to him. It wasn't fair that her cousin had to be the one to tell him he was about to become a stepfather. It wasn't fair that his entire family was sitting in that room right now wondering what the hell was happening. It wasn't fair that he had to find this out the night before his wedding instead of 4 years ago when they first started dating. Melissa said she was sorry. She kept saying it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Jason said sorry wasn't enough. He said sorry didn't change anything. He asked if she even understood what she'd done. She'd made decisions about his life without consulting him. She'd planned out a future where he was going to be a stepfather and never bothered to ask if that's what he wanted. Melissa said he told her he wanted kids someday. Jason said someday, not now, not someone else's kid. He said when they talked about kids they were talking about their kids. Kids they would have together. Not a 6-year-old daughter he'd never met. Melissa said Olivia was a great kid. She said Jason would love her. Jason said that wasn't the point. The point was choice. He didn't get to choose. She chose for him. Melissa asked what he wanted her to do. She couldn't unmake Olivia. She couldn't go back in time and tell him from the beginning. Jason said he wanted her to be honest. That's all he ever wanted. Honesty. Melissa said she was being honest now. Jason said it was too late. He walked past me without saying anything and went back into the private room. I heard him tell everyone the wedding was cancelled. I heard my mom start crying. I heard chairs scraping as people stood up. I should have gone back in but I couldn't move. Melissa was still standing there in the hallway, tears streaming down her face, and I didn't know what to say to her. She looked at me and asked if Jason was right. If she was a terrible person. I told her I didn't think she was terrible. I said I thought she was scared and she made a bad choice. She said she made a lot of bad choices. I asked if she really thought Jason wouldn't find out. If she really thought she could hide a whole child. She said she wasn't trying to hide Olivia. She said she talked about her all the time on the phone with her parents and her friends. She said she just kept Jason separate from that part of her life. I asked why. She said because she knew he'd leave. She said every guy she dated before Jason left when they found out about Olivia. Every single one. She said as soon as guys found out she had a kid they suddenly remembered they weren't ready for something serious. They had excuses. They were focusing on their career. They weren't ready to be a father figure. They wanted to date someone without baggage. She said when she met Jason she knew he was different. She knew he was the one. And she couldn't risk losing him the way she lost everyone else. I said but she did lose him. By lying, she guaranteed the exact outcome she was trying to avoid. She said she knew that now. She said she thought if he fell in love with her first, really fell in love, then he wouldn't care about Olivia. He'd love them both. I said maybe he would have. If she'd given him the chance. She asked if I thought there was any way to fix this. I said I didn't know. I said I wasn't the one she needed to ask. She wiped her face and said she should go talk to her parents. They probably wanted to kill her. I went back into the private room. It was chaos. Half the people were gone already. My mom was on the phone with someone, probably the venue. My dad was talking to Jason in the corner. Ryan was helping some of the older relatives get their coats. Melissa's parents were still there. Her mom was crying and her dad looked furious. When Melissa came back in, her dad asked her what she was thinking. He asked if she had any idea how much money they'd spent on this wedding. How embarrassed they were. Melissa said she was sorry. Her mom asked if sorry was supposed to fix this. She asked how Melissa could do this to Jason, to them, to everyone. Melissa said she didn't mean for any of this to happen. She said she was going to tell Jason, she just needed more time. Her dad said she had 4 years. How much more time did she need? They left. Most of Melissa's family left actually. I think they were embarrassed. Or angry. Or both. Jason's friends stuck around a bit longer. Ryan kept asking if Jason was okay, if he needed anything. Jason just kept saying he was fine, he just wanted to go back to the hotel. My parents tried to talk to him. My mom kept saying maybe they should all take a breath, sleep on it, talk in the morning when everyone was calmer. Jason said there was nothing to talk about. The wedding was off. He wasn't going to marry someone who lied to him for 4 years. My dad asked if he was sure. He said Jason loved Melissa. He said maybe this was something they could work through. Jason said how was he supposed to trust her after this? How was he supposed to believe anything she said? She lied about having a child. What else was she lying about? My dad didn't have an answer. We all went back to the hotel. Most of the out-of-town guests were staying there. The lobby was awkward. People kept asking if everything was okay, if the wedding was still on for tomorrow. My mom kept saying there was a situation and she'd send out an email in the morning. Jason went straight to his room and didn't come out. Ryan tried knocking a few times but Jason told him to go away. I'm in my room now. It's 3 a.m. I've been typing this for an hour because I can't sleep and I don't know what else to do. My phone keeps buzzing. People from the guest list asking what happened. My mom texted the wedding party saying the ceremony is cancelled and she'll handle the vendors. Melissa has texted me twice asking if I've talked to Jason, if he's okay, if there's any chance he'll change his mind. I don't know what to tell her. I don't know what to tell anyone. The thing is, I get why she was scared. Dating as a single parent is hard. I've heard the stories. People judge you. They assume you have baggage or drama or an ex causing problems. They run before they even get to know you. But lying about it for 4 years? Planning to tell Jason after the wedding? That's not protecting yourself. That's manipulating someone into a commitment they might not have made if they had all the information. And the sad part is, Jason might have been okay with it. If Melissa had told him from the beginning that she had a daughter, if she'd been upfront about the custody situation and the child support and the summer visits, he might have said yes. He might have been the guy who didn't run. But now we'll never know. Because she didn't give him the choice. Melissa had a whole other life. A daughter, an ex, a custody agreement, financial obligations, summer visitations, and she kept all of it secret while building a future with someone who had no idea any of it existed. How do you come back from that? How do you marry someone who was planning to surprise you with a stepchild on your honeymoon? I need to try to sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a disaster. We have to tell the venue, the caterer, the florist, the band. We have to deal with 150 guests who showed up for a wedding that's not happening. We have to figure out what to do with all the gifts that have already been delivered to my parents' house. And somewhere in Colorado, there's a 6-year-old girl who has no idea her mom just blew up her entire life because she was too scared to tell the truth. Okay, it's been 3 days since the rehearsal dinner disaster and I need to get this all out because my brain is going to explode if I don't tell someone what's been happening. The morning after, my mom sent out a mass email to all the wedding guests saying the wedding was cancelled due to unforeseen circumstances and she would personally reach out to everyone later. She spent the rest of the day on the phone with vendors. Most of them were sympathetic but firm about the no refund policy. My parents lost basically all the money. The venue, the caterer, the florist, the photographer. All of it. Thousands of dollars just gone. My dad was less upset about the money than you'd expect. He kept saying it was better to lose the deposits than watch Jason marry someone who'd been lying to him for years. Jason spent the entire day in his hotel room. He wouldn't talk to anyone except Ryan, and even then only briefly. Ryan said Jason was just lying on the bed staring at the ceiling, not really responding to anything. Ryan asked if he wanted to talk about it and Jason said no. Ryan asked if he wanted to go somewhere, get drunk, break something. Jason said no, he just wanted to be left alone. Melissa tried to come to the hotel. She showed up in the lobby around noon asking the front desk what room Jason was in. The desk wouldn't tell her, obviously. She texted my mom begging her to let her talk to Jason. Just 5 minutes, just enough to explain properly. My mom didn't respond. She told me later she didn't know what to say. She said part of her felt sorry for Melissa because you could tell she was genuinely devastated. But the bigger part was furious. She kept saying how could Melissa do this to Jason? How could she lie for so long? What kind of person does that? Melissa's parents reached out to apologize. They said they didn't know Melissa had kept Olivia's secret from Jason. They said they assumed he knew about the custody arrangement and was okay with it. They said if they'd known Melissa was lying they would have insisted she tell him immediately. My dad asked them how they could not know. They must have realized Jason never asked about Olivia, never mentioned her, never made plans around her summer visits. Melissa's dad said they didn't see Jason that often, usually just at holidays and family events. And Melissa kept her relationship life pretty separate from her family life. They said it never occurred to them that Jason didn't know about his soon-to-be stepdaughter. It made me wonder how Melissa pulled it off logistically. How do you date someone for 4 years, live with them for 1, get engaged, plan a wedding, and never once mention you have a kid? Where did she tell Jason she was going when she drove to Colorado for visitation weekends? What did she say about the $800 a month leaving her bank account? I asked Ryan if Jason had said anything about this. Ryan said Jason mentioned that Melissa traveled a lot for work, continuing education courses, nursing conferences, training seminars, usually 1 weekend a month. Sometimes more during the summer. There were no work trips. It was all custody visits. Ryan said Jason also mentioned once that Melissa sent money to her cousin in Denver every month. The cousin was struggling financially and Melissa was helping out. Jason thought it was generous. There was no cousin. It was child support. Every piece of their relationship was built on these little lies. Not big dramatic lies, but constant small ones that added up to a completely false picture of who Melissa was. On the second day, Melissa showed up at my parents' house. She just appeared on the doorstep at like 8 a.m. crying and asking to talk to Jason. My mom told her Jason wasn't there. Melissa asked where he was. My mom said that wasn't information she was going to share. Melissa started begging. She said she knew she messed up. She knew she should have told Jason from the beginning. But she loved him and she was terrified of losing him and she made bad choices because of that fear. She said everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has things they're not proud of. This was hers. My mom said some mistakes are bigger than others. She said lying about having a child for 4 years while planning a wedding isn't a mistake. It's a pattern of deception. Melissa said she understood my mom was angry but she needed to talk to Jason. She needed him to hear her side of things. She needed a chance to make this right. My mom asked how she planned to make it right. Could she go back in time and be honest from the start? Could she undo 4 years of lies? Melissa said no, but she could commit to being honest going forward. She said if Jason would just talk to her, she'd answer any question he had. She'd tell him everything about Olivia, about the custody situation, about why she hid it. She'd do whatever it took to earn back his trust. My mom said that wasn't her decision to make. If Jason wanted to talk to Melissa, he'd reach out. Until then, Melissa needed to respect his space. Melissa left but she came back later that evening. This time my dad answered the door. He was less diplomatic than my mom. He told Melissa she needed to leave Jason alone. He said she'd done enough damage. She said she just wanted to explain. My dad said there was nothing to explain. She lied. End of story. She said it was more complicated than that. My dad said it really wasn't. The conversation got heated. Melissa said my parents were being unfair, that they didn't understand how hard it was being a single parent in the dating world. How people judged you, how scared she was of being alone forever. My dad said plenty of single parents manage to date honestly. They tell potential partners about their kids up front and let those partners decide if they're ready for that responsibility. They don't lie for years and then act shocked when the truth comes out. Melissa said Jason would have left if she told him from the beginning. My dad said maybe, but that would have been Jason's choice to make. She took that choice away from him. Melissa said she was trying to protect what they had. My dad said you can't protect a relationship built on lies. Eventually the truth comes out and everything collapses. That's exactly what happened. Melissa asked if they thought there was any way Jason would forgive her. My dad said he honestly didn't know. He said that Jason he knew valued honesty above almost everything else. He said when Jason's college roommate stole $200 from him and lied about it, Jason cut him off completely. Never spoke to him again. Melissa went pale. She asked if my dad was saying Jason would never speak to her again. My dad said he was saying Jason takes lying very seriously. What Melissa did was exponentially worse than stealing $200. Melissa left. She hasn't been back. Jason finally left the hotel on day 3. He went back to the apartment he shared with Melissa to get his stuff. Melissa wasn't there. She'd been staying with a friend, I think. Ryan helped him pack. He said the apartment was exactly how they left it before the rehearsal dinner. Melissa's nursing textbooks on the coffee table. Their travel photos on the walls. The save-the-date magnets for their wedding still on the fridge. Ryan said it was depressing as hell. All this evidence of a life they were building together, and now it was just gone. Jason packed his clothes, his laptop, some books, his guitar. He left everything else, the furniture they bought together, the kitchen stuff, the bedding. He told Ryan he didn't want anything that reminded him of her. When Jason was loading the last box into his car, Melissa showed up. Ryan said she must have been watching the apartment waiting for Jason to come. She pulled up right as they were about to leave. Jason told Ryan to get in the car. Ryan said he'd wait but he'd be right there if Jason needed him. Melissa and Jason stood in the parking lot and talked for maybe 20 minutes. Ryan couldn't hear what they were saying but he could see them. He said Melissa was crying and trying to touch Jason's arm and Jason kept stepping back. At one point Melissa went to her car and came back with a photo. She showed it to Jason. Ryan said Jason stared at it for a long time and then handed it back. The photo was of Olivia. Melissa told Jason later, in a text, that she wanted him to see her. To understand that Olivia was real and sweet and innocent in all of this. Jason asked Melissa what she expected him to do with that information. Melissa said she didn't know. She just wanted him to see that Olivia existed. That she wasn't some abstract concept. She was a 6-year-old girl who loved art projects and wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. Jason said he was sure Olivia was great. He said that wasn't the point. The point was Melissa lied to him about her existence for 4 years. Melissa said she kept Olivia separate because she didn't want Jason to feel pressured. She didn't want him to feel like he had to step into a father role before he was ready. She said she was trying to protect everyone. Jason said she was trying to protect herself. She was scared he'd leave so she manipulated him into falling in love with an incomplete version of her. She created a relationship where he couldn't make informed decisions about his own life. Melissa asked if he would have dated her if she'd told him about Olivia on their first date. Jason said he didn't know. Maybe, maybe not, but at least it would have been his choice. Melissa said so she was right to be scared. He probably would have left. Jason said she'd never know now. Because she didn't give him the opportunity to surprise her. Maybe he would have been great with it. Maybe he would have loved being a stepdad. Maybe Olivia and he would have had an amazing relationship. But Melissa decided she knew better than him what he wanted and what he could handle, and she made that decision for him. Melissa asked what she was supposed to do now. The wedding was cancelled. The apartment lease was in both their names. Their entire life was intertwined. Jason said he'd already talked to the landlord about breaking the lease. He was moving out. She could keep the apartment or find someone else to take it over, he didn't care. He just needed to not be there. Melissa asked if he was breaking up with her. Jason said yes. Obviously yes. Melissa asked if there was any chance they could work through this, go to counseling, rebuild trust. Jason said no. Melissa asked why not. People work through worse things. People survive infidelity, financial problems, all kinds of breaches of trust. Jason said those people weren't lied to about the existence of a human being for 4 years. That wasn't a normal relationship problem. That was a fundamental incompatibility of values. He needed a partner who told him the truth even when it was hard. She'd proven she wasn't that person. Melissa said people change. She said she'd learned her lesson. She'd never lie to him again. Jason said he didn't believe her. He said even if she meant it in that moment, he would never be able to trust her. Every time she went somewhere, he'd wonder if she was lying about where she was going. Every time she told him something about her life, he'd question if it was true. That's not a relationship. That's constant anxiety and suspicion. Melissa said that wasn't fair. She made one mistake. One big mistake, yes, but one mistake. Jason said it wasn't one mistake. It was hundreds of small decisions to continue lying every single day for 4 years. Every time she could have told him and chose not to, that was a choice. A deliberate choice to deceive him. He got in the car. Melissa tried to stop him, literally standing in front of the car door. Jason told her to move. She said they needed to keep talking. There had to be a way to fix this. Jason said there wasn't. It was over. He asked her to please move so he could leave. She moved. Ryan said she just stood there in the parking lot crying while they drove away. That was yesterday. Jason is staying with Ryan now until he finds his own place. He's taken time off work. He's not really talking to anyone. My mom keeps texting him asking if he wants to come over for dinner and he keeps saying he's fine, he just needs time. I texted Melissa today asking if she was okay. She said no. She said she destroyed the best thing in her life because she was too scared to be honest. She said she understood why Jason couldn't forgive her, but it didn't make it hurt any less. I asked what she was going to do now. She said she didn't know. Move forward somehow. Focus on Olivia. Try to figure out how to live with the consequences of her choices. I asked if she regretted lying. She said of course she did. But she also said she understood why she did it. She said when you've been rejected so many times for something you can't change, you start to feel like you'll never find someone who accepts all of you. So you hide the parts that scare people away and hope that by the time they find out, they'll love you enough to stay. I said but that's not how it works. You can't build real love on hidden truths. Eventually the foundation cracks and everything falls apart. She said she knew that now. She said she wished she could go back and do everything differently. Tell Jason from the first date that she had a daughter. Give him all the information and let him decide if he wanted to pursue something with her. Even if he said no, at least it would have been honest. I told her it was too late for that now. All she could do was move forward and make better choices next time. She asked if I thought there would be a next time. If anyone would ever want her after this. I said of course they would. But next time she needed to lead with the truth, no matter how scary it was. She said she would. She said she'd learned that lesson the hardest way possible. We hung up. I don't know what's going to happen with her and Jason. Right now it seems pretty final. But I guess time will tell. It's been 2 months since the rehearsal dinner. I wasn't going to write another update but enough people have been asking, and honestly, I need to process everything that's happened. Jason moved into his own apartment about 3 weeks ago. It's a studio in a different part of town, far from anywhere he and Melissa used to go together. He said he needed a completely fresh start. No memories, no reminders, nothing that would make him think about what he lost. He's doing okay, I think. He went back to work after taking 2 weeks off. His boss was understanding about the whole situation. Jason told him there was a family emergency and left it at that. He didn't want people at work knowing the details. Ryan says Jason seems better. Not happy exactly, but functional. He's not moping around anymore. He's going to the gym, hanging out with friends, trying to move on with his life. Ryan took him to a basketball game last week and Jason actually laughed at something, which Ryan said was the first time he'd heard him laugh since the rehearsal dinner. My parents have been checking in on him constantly. My mom calls him every other day just to chat. My dad invited him over for a barbecue last weekend. They're trying to show him he still has family support even though his relationship fell apart. As for Melissa, I haven't talked to her directly since that last conversation. But I hear things through mutual friends and through her cousin Brian, who has been feeling incredibly guilty about the whole situation. Brian called me a few weeks ago to apologize. He said he couldn't stop thinking about how his stupid toast ruined everything. I told him it wasn't his fault. He didn't ruin anything. The lie ruined it. He just happened to be the one who exposed it. He said Melissa wasn't doing well. She'd taken some time off work because she was having panic attacks. She moved out of the apartment she shared with Jason and was staying with her parents temporarily. She was in therapy now, trying to work through why she made the choices she made. Brian said Melissa told him she'd been carrying around so much shame about being a single mom that she convinced herself the only way to have a normal relationship was to pretend Olivia didn't exist. At least until she felt secure enough that the truth wouldn't scare her partner away. He said Melissa's therapist was helping her understand that shame and fear aren't excuses for deception. That healthy relationships require vulnerability from the beginning, even when it's terrifying. I asked if Melissa had been in contact with Jason. Brian said she'd tried a few times in the first couple of weeks. She sent him long emails apologizing and explaining and begging for another chance. Jason never responded. Then, about a month ago, Melissa sent Jason one final message. Brian showed it to me. She said she understood Jason didn't want to hear from her anymore. She said she respected his decision and wouldn't contact him again. She said she was sorry for everything she put him through and she hoped someday he'd find someone who deserved him. Someone who would be honest from day one. She said she was working on herself. She was learning how to stop being so afraid. She was learning that hiding parts of yourself doesn't protect you, it just delays the inevitable pain. She ended the message by saying she'd always love him and always regret the way she handled things. Then she said goodbye. Jason didn't respond to that one either. But Ryan told me later that Jason read it multiple times. He said Jason seemed sad after reading it, but also relieved. Like that message gave him closure in a way the previous ones didn't. Last week, something happened that I wasn't expecting. Jason came over to my apartment to talk. He said he'd been thinking a lot about everything and he wanted to tell me something. He said he'd been angry at Melissa for so long. Angry about the lying, angry about the deception, angry about having his choice taken away. And he still was angry about all of that. But he'd also been doing a lot of thinking about why people lie. He said he understood now that Melissa was operating from a place of deep fear and insecurity. That didn't excuse what she did, but it helped him understand it. He said he'd talked to his own therapist about it and realized that while he couldn't forgive Melissa or take her back, he could stop being consumed by anger toward her. I asked if that meant he was thinking about reaching out to her. He said no. He said what happened destroyed his ability to trust her, and without trust there couldn't be a relationship. But he could acknowledge that she wasn't evil. She was just broken and scared and made terrible decisions because of it. He said he hoped she was getting help. He hoped she would figure herself out before she hurt someone else the way she hurt him. But that wasn't his problem anymore. His problem was moving forward and eventually learning to trust someone again. I asked if he thought he could do that. Trust someone after this. He said he didn't know. He said it would take time. But he thought maybe with the right person, someone who was honest from the start, he could get there eventually. We talked for a while longer. He told me he'd been on a couple of dates. Nothing serious, just testing the waters. He said it felt weird trying to start over with someone new, but also kind of exciting. Like he was getting a second chance to build something real. Before he left, he said something that stuck with me. He said the worst part about the whole situation wasn't that Melissa had a daughter. It wasn't even really the lying, although that was terrible. The worst part was realizing he'd spent 4 years in love with someone who didn't trust him enough to be vulnerable. He said real intimacy requires honesty, even when that honesty might end the relationship. Melissa never gave him the chance to love all of her. She only let him love the edited version she thought he'd accept. He said that was the saddest part of all. He might have loved her anyway. He might have been great with Olivia. They might have built an amazing life together. But they'd never know because Melissa was so sure he'd reject her that she rejected herself first by hiding the most important part of her life. After Jason left, I sat there thinking about everything he said. About fear and shame and the ways we sabotage ourselves by trying to protect ourselves. About how lying to avoid pain often just creates more pain in the end. I thought about Melissa and how lonely she must have felt keeping such a huge secret. Pretending to be someone she wasn't every single day for 4 years. That must have been exhausting. And I thought about Olivia, the little girl caught in the middle of all this. The girl who has no idea her existence was treated like a secret instead of a blessing. I hope she never finds out how her mom tried to hide her from the man she was going to marry. The last thing I heard was that Melissa is planning to move closer to Colorado to be near Olivia. She's applied for nursing jobs in Denver. She said she wants to be a more present parent, to stop trying to compartmentalize her life into separate pieces that never touch. Brian said she seems different now, more grounded, less concerned with appearing perfect. She told her parents she's done dating for a while. She needs to focus on herself and on being the best mom she can be to Olivia. As for our families, things are still awkward. My mom ran into Melissa's mom at the grocery store last month and they had a brief, uncomfortable conversation. Melissa's mom apologized again for everything. My mom said she appreciated the apology but she wasn't ready to be friendly yet. Maybe someday, but not now. The wedding gifts have all been returned. The venue has been rebooked for someone else's special day. The botanical gardens where Jason and Melissa were supposed to get married is hosting a different couple's ceremony this weekend. Life moves on. That's what it does. Jason will be okay. He's resilient and he has people who love him. He'll heal from this and eventually he'll find someone who's brave enough to show him who they really are from the beginning. Melissa will be okay too, I think. She's facing her demons and doing the work to be better. That doesn't erase what she did, but it's something. And Olivia, that sweet 6-year-old in Colorado who loves art projects and wants to be a veterinarian, she'll be okay because she has a mom who's finally learning to stop hiding and start living authentically. As for me, I learned something from all of this too. I learned that love built on lies isn't really love at all. It's a house of cards waiting to collapse. Real love requires real honesty, even when that honesty is terrifying. Especially when it's terrifying. That's it. That's the whole story. A relationship that imploded because one person was too scared to be real and another person valued truth above everything else. Neither of them was wrong for feeling the way they felt. They just weren't compatible in the way that mattered most. I hope they both find happiness. Separately, with people who are better matches for who they really are. And I hope the next time I'm at a rehearsal dinner, the only surprise is whether the chicken or the salmon is more universally appealing. Time to move on to whatever comes next. Subscribe for more stories like this.